In this video, we are going to talk about strangest cars ever made. So before starting, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. Most of us have quite standard automobiles, maybe an old VW, or a flashy red Ferrari. Our roadways are full of those, yet they rarely capture our notice. While a rust bucket could imply that you have some financial troubles, a sports automobile shows that you're loaded. But in the end, you still become lost in an ocean of similar cars. However, if you really want to stand out of the crowd and show off your uniqueness, what you need is something that cannot be obtained in any auto store, a one-of-a-kind car. Something weird, odd, and utterly distinct. And we're not talking about custom paint jobs either, it goes beyond that. Let's take a look at art cars instead. These DIY automobiles have been altered for their owners to fully express themselves and stay unique whilst on the road. But the cartists, yes, car artists, behind them haven't only designed these automobiles for their own amusement, some showcase their cars for displays too. In fact, the Houston Art Car Parade takes place annually in the US for exactly this purpose. Here are the 10 strangest cars ever made. So let's start. Number 10. 1914 Anderson Detroit Electric Model 90. Backseat drivers were required in the Anderson Detroit Electric, a car driven from the back seat. The Model 90 was the clean pick of wealthy metropolitan ladies who drove it using a set of tillers while seated on the comfortable sofa that was the Detroit's back seat. In order to socialize on the road, the front seat swiveled around. Sounds risky? Given that the Detroit Electric could barely manage 25 miles per hour, and that city speed limits were around 10 miles per hour, a little social talk wasn't too dangerous. Anderson made front-drive Detroit Electric vehicles, while backseat driving was available until the 1930s. Number 9. 1980 Renault 5 Turbo. The tiny 1.4-liter engine wasn't exactly a rally champ, so Renault added fuel injection and a turbocharger. But who cares about that, right? Those are just rear fender flares, monsieur. Why would we convert a front-wheel drive car to a rear-wheel drive? We are enraged. Imagine us designing a car with one fluid source for brakes, steering, and suspension. Bleeding. AWD cars swiftly eclipsed the Renault 5 Turbo's inaugural WRC victory in the Monte Carlo Rally. Renault, never one to give up on a lousy concept, did it again with the 2003 Clio V6. Number 8. 1983 Glenfrom Facet. But since it's as bizarre as it is ugly, we believed it belonged on this list as well. Yes, this strange fiberglass construct started life as what we can only guess was a perfectly decent Range Rover. A hydraulically lifted Targa top could be removed and placed behind the front hinged hood, which looks like it came from a low-budget 1970s sci-fi movie model. This ludicrous SUV sold for £55,000, which is almost $250,000 today. We have to wonder if the people who bought this monstrosity were as odd as the Facet itself. Number 7. 1988 Buick Reatta. It was so new in the late 1980s that GM didn't realize you should check if a niche is empty before filling it with a car. Buick saw a need for an upper-crust sports vehicle that wasn't too sporty, like a blue-collar Mercedes SL. The Reatta used a shortened Riviera base, a 3.8-liter V6, and front-wheel drive, all wrapped in a bizarrely spherical casing that predated GM's Anani blobs of the 1990s. The new text-only touchscreen was a foreshadowing of confusing infotainment systems to come. The promised convertible came 2 years later, and Buick had already sold the dozen or so Reattas. The Reatta was killed in 1991 after failing to fulfill its sales targets. Number 6. 1992 Autasm AZ1. Japanese automakers are famed for their K-car innovations, micro-sized vehicles built to strict size and displacement guidelines in order to qualify for tax, insurance, and parking benefits. The AZ1, from Mazda's youth-oriented Autasm subsidiary, debuted at the 1989 Tokyo Car Show. The AZ1 has gull-wing doors that perfectly match its fetal Ferrari appearance. Its 0.66-liter turbocharged engine produced 63 horsepower and 63 lb-ft of torque. The AZ1 didn't hit the market until late 1992, just as Japan was experiencing a recession. Mazda only sold 4,400 Autism AZ1s before giving up in late 1994. Number 5. 1993 Subaru SVX. Subaru was already regarded as a quirky automaker in the early 90s, but no one could quite understand this competitor to Japanese sports cars like the Supra, 300ZX, 3000 GT, and the Diamond Stars. The SVX seemed promising enough, with a 230 horsepower 6-cylinder boxer delivering power to all four wheels, this at a time when AWD Sportsters were a novelty. Unfortunately, Subaru saddled it with a 4-speed automatic transmission, having no manual box capable of handling the engine's 228 lb-ft of torque. Really, and design house Giugiaro heaped on oddball creases and strange half-height opening side windows that no one has ever been able to explain. Though very entertaining on a twisty back road, the Subaru SVX earned its reputation not as a great sports car, but as an unusual curiosity. Number 4. 1999 Isuzu Vehicross. No one was surprised by the spaceship-like Vehicross when it showed up as a concept car at the 1993 Tokyo Auto Show. After all, we expect concept cars to be a little wacky. But when the production Vehicross showed up at Isuzu dealerships, virtually unchanged from the concept car? Yes, that was a surprise, especially as more than half a decade had elapsed since the show car made its debut. No matter, the Vehicross looked just as unearthly in the late 90s as it did in the early 90s, and we admired Isuzu for making the production SUV every bit as weird as the concept. The Vehicross was based on rugged Trooper mechanicals, and aside from the fact that you couldn't see anything out the rear window, Isuzu apparently predicted the need for rear-view cameras, but not the cameras themselves. It was a useful and functional SUV. Strange, but useful and functional. Number 3. 2002 Renault Avantime. In a classic near-miss of the coming crossover craze, Renault decided empty nesters might want a cool, sporty version of its e-Space minivan, and it answered this unasked question with a one-box weirdo called the Avantime, pronounced Avantime. Its two massive doors had no chance of opening in crowded parking lots, so Renault developed an articulated hinge that moved the door forward as it opened. Amazingly, this hideous two-door people carrier proved to be too weird even for the French. In some ways, the Avantime did predict the future. Its giant glass sunroof was a portent of things to come, and buyers would indeed develop a taste for adult versions of the SUVs in which they carried their kids. Number 2. 2003 Chevrolet SSR. We weren't quite sure what to make of the SSR, Super Sport Roadster, at first. Is it a truck? Is it a street rod? Is it a sporty convertible? We wrote in our first review. Does it matter? Truth be told, we still don't. The SSR was the first, and to this day, only, pickup truck with a retractable hardtop that gave the owners something to brag about, because even with 300 horsepower from its hardworking 5.3-liter V8, acceleration of this heavy Chevy was hardly worthy of boasting. Things got better in 2005 with the adaptation of a 390 horsepower 6.0-liter V8, which, together with a 6-speed stick, got the SSR to 60 in under 5.5 seconds. Still, the SSR proved to be just a little too strange for buyers, and surprise, sales never took off. Production halted in 2006, and it took Chevy a couple of years to sell off the remaining inventory. Number 1. 2003 Smart Roadster. The two-seat Smart for two is already regarded as a rolling joke in the US, so can you imagine how American buyers might have reacted to a Smart with a removable roof? Europeans did attempt to take the Smart Roadster seriously as a fuel-efficient Miata competitor, provided they didn't try to beat one at a stoplight drag race. The 80-horsepower version of the Smart's 0.7-liter 3-cylinder barely got the Roadster to 60 in 11 seconds, and there was a 60-horsepower version that was even slower. A bigger problem was the ill-fitting top. These cars leaked so badly that warranty costs averaged €3,000, about $3,800, per car, leading Smart to chop this strange little chop top after 2005. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.